watching Initiative Africa. My name is Asha Sampath. Welcome to this new edition of your weekly magazine featuring Africa on the move through smart innovations and initiatives that work. And this week we are at VivaTech in Paris, Europe's largest tech event, and which is hosting a whole pavilion dedicated to startups from the continent. It's time for Initiative Africa. Welcome to all of you. Let's get on with the show with our top stories today. He is one of those repats of the digital industry who choose to leave Western countries to return to Africa and start a business in tech. This is what Cameroonian Serge Boubda did after returning to the country a few years ago to create a payment platform. He's our guest today.
Le paiement étant à la base de tout ce qui est transactionnel.
As payment is the basis of everything that is transactional and financial, it seems to me to be a particularly exciting field to work in, especially in Africa.
Sur lesquels travailler, et notamment en Afrique.
Solving the payment dilemma in Africa, we put the spotlight on Serge Boubda's dual platform, an architecture that is already appealing to some traders in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala.
C'est une nouvelle façon plus simple de sécuriser.
It's a new, more straightforward way to make payments more secure, faster, and of course with a completely new and simplified experience.
Complètement simplifiée, nouvelle.
Heading for Ghana and its ecosystem of startups, almost 100 new startups created thanks to the Ghana Innovation Hub.
Here in the Ghana Innovation Hub, we have a shelf where we showcase the products of our entrepreneurs. So all these products you see here are samples of what they do, and in a way of helping them, we advertise it for them.
Like I said earlier, I'm right now joining from the VivaTech show in Paris, the most important European startups and tech event. It attracts nearly 30,000 visitors from 149 countries and is home to the Africa Tech Village with a presence of 9 African countries. It must be said that high-tech applications adapted to the needs of Africa are of particular interest to investors. Great example here with Dual, a payment platform based in Cameroon, which collected 2.5 million euros in 2021. Our correspondent Aboubakar Munchili went to discover what's behind this huge success. Take a look.
After working for a long time in France in the banking and finance sector, Serge Boubda, a Cameroonian from the diaspora, has returned to Africa to contribute to the continent's development. Faced with the difficulties that merchants encounter every day due to the multiple payments issued via a variety of mobile money services and cash or even checks, he and his associate have designed a solution to facilitate the procedures in these transactions with customers.
We have companies that are generally involved in payment aggregation. This means that with one machine or one phone, you can collect payments from MTN, Orange, within the same phone or the same platform.
D'un même téléphone ou d'une même plateforme. Donc nous on a voulu pousser ça plus loin.
We wanted to push this further. As we tried to take it further, once you have collected from the various mobile operators, we allow you to use these funds directly to pay your network of providers.
Ces fonds, on vous permet d'utiliser directement ces fonds pour payer votre réseau de fournisseurs directement.
And at the end, once you have finished, you can bring back the funds to you.
Remonter les fonds vers vous.
Dual, a name taken from a West African dialect, is the fintech startup he co-founded to bring this innovative solution to these operators on the continent through a platform.
Le nom Dual est né.
Dual was born to represent a product to facilitate financial transactions.
Représenter un produit qui concerne les échanges financiers, et notamment les échanges financiers.
Particularly the financial transactions of merchants.
Une nouvelle façon plus simple de sécuriser ces paiements.
It's a new, more straightforward way to make payments more secure, faster, and of course with a completely new and simplified experience.
Simplifiée, nouvelle.
It is here in Douala, Cameroon, at the heart of the Bonapriso district, that he set up this company in 2015. He dreams of turning it into a vast continental empire. The platform and application he created allow merchants, among other things, to easily accept payments from their customers in a single account, any electronic payment, and to use these funds to pay suppliers or transfer funds. A real revolution in the field of electronic payment.
The fact that you don't handle money anymore, because handling money, as I say, all the time is delicate, even on the reliability of banknotes, because they can give you fake bills. At the end of the day, you realize that you're losing. You have lost a lot of money because you have counterfeited notes. With this solution, the risks are really minimized, because when you make dual transfers, the client makes the deposit, you initiate the payment, the client validates, so you receive the money instantly, and what is even better is that you can make the transfer from your phone to your bank account. So you don't necessarily have to keep the money on your phone, making all the payments more manageable.
Over the years, the number of business customers of this startup has grown. Past 6 years, more than 2,500 merchants have completed more than $120 million worth of transactions on its platform. In February 2021, Duel completed a $3.5 million fundraising operation. This will enable the company to meet the ever-increasing demand, attract new investors, and face the competition in the digital payment market in Cameroon and the Central African sub-region, with the interoperability now possible between bank and mobile accounts. This investment has made Duel one of the best-funded fintech startups in French-speaking Africa, opening up excellent prospects for conquering the rest of the continent with several strategies already in the pipeline.
We have some strategies that we're working on at the moment, but I think that the general idea is also to approach the large companies, so that they bring in the small ones, because obviously we are in a market where sponsorship is valued.
Other important projects await this company, which wants to win the challenge of providing innovative services to a continent in the midst of a digital revolution. Among these challenges are the improvements of the platform's functionalities, as well as the international partnership agreements to be established with partner companies and financial institutions in the various African countries targeted. All this while respecting compliance with the various national regulations.
And it's time to meet Serge Boubda, the creator of Duel. At the origin of his idea of designing a payment platform was his frustration as an engineer in the banking sector in France each time he returned to Douala. He faced the impossibility of using his payment cards and the obligation to travel with cash. He realized the problems for traders and retailers to collect various forms of payment, and he began to think of an alternative way to combine his expertise and also his desire to bring added value to his country. He spoke to Aboubakar Munchili, our correspondent in Douala.
Bonjour, Serge Boubda.
Serge Boubda, hello. You're quite a remarkable entrepreneur on the African continent in the digital field through your fintech startup. How did you manage it, and why did you choose this electronic payment system?
Merci. Bon, je ne savais pas que j'étais remarquable.
Thank you. I didn't know I was remarkable. Essentially, I'm a banker, and before that, an engineer. I started at the bank when banks, especially merchant banks, were looking for engineers to come up with solutions for some of their customers' more complicated problems.
Les solutions permettant de résoudre les problèmes sophistiqués des clients. Et c'est ce qu'on appelait...
And that's what was called, well, what came to be known as Fintech 101. I later became an entrepreneur, and as payment is the basis of everything that is transactional and financial, it seems to me to be a particularly exciting field to work in, especially in Africa.
After having worked in the banking and financial sector in France, you chose to return to Africa to work and help the continent from Cameroon. What inspired you?
When you've worked abroad for a long time, and when you've done exciting things and created value elsewhere, There is the wish to return home and create value there also. It might be joining an existing project and contributing to it. It could be just showing up and starting everything from scratch.
On arrive sur place et puis on commence tout de zéro.
I think it's really a desire to return, to create value, to give back a little to the land of our birth, contribute a little of what we think we have, what we believe we know, and what we think we can do.
Is it easy, you think, for members of the diaspora to return and do business in Africa? What sort of obstacles must be overcome?
Returning to do business on the continent is not easy, and that is precisely why the diaspora, those who have created value abroad, those who have learnt new things abroad must redouble their efforts to get started, to adapt, to apply what they've learnt elsewhere here, and really work hard to understand the local environment. There are already things that exist. Cameroon and Africa are not waiting on the diaspora to move forward. On the other hand, Africa is waiting for the diaspora to come and say that what we are already doing can be improved 10 times over with such and such a new technique, or improved even a little with such and such other technique. So I think it's important for the diaspora to come and get their hands dirty, as they say, and to look at this as a natural progression.
Duel is a fintech startup that you co-founded and launched in 2015. Why the name Duel, and what needs does this application meet?
It's a completely made-up name. We were inspired by the name Dioula, which is a language spoken in West Africa, mainly by traders, a language mainly used for trade. When I was younger, I was always fascinated with stories. I'm still fascinated by the ghostly legends of Africa, of Cameroon or West Africa. And trade of the great Western African empires is also something that inspired me. It's partly why we created the name Duel, to represent a product that concerns financial exchanges, and in particular the financial exchanges of merchants.
What are the various services offered by the Duel application, and how is this application and the opportunities you offer seen by its users?
In today's digital age, customers have many ways to make a payment. It could be using cash, it could be using mobile money.
Leur vendeur, donc ça peut être parce qu'on dépose du cash, ça peut être parce qu'on utilise le mobile money.
There are several mobile money operators in Africa, in Cameroon in particular. But for a trader, it's complicated to be able to deal with everything. Now, with a single click, the Duel application allows the user to collect everything into a single account, meaning we remove the complexity of managing all these different payment methods. We bring everything together in one account for our customers. Once these funds are collected in the account, the traders can use it to pay their supplier at once, instead of having to wait to collect everything into one other place. Now, it's done instantly, and the merchant can transfer the funds to suppliers to buy new goods and resell even more. And what do customers think of the service? I would say 3 things. First, it's an improvement. Before, there were 3 or 4 different ways of getting paid. Today, we no longer need that hassle. Everything is gathered in one place.
Aujourd'hui, on n'a plus besoin de cette complexité-là. Tout est rassemblé en un.
The second point is, it was difficult to reconcile everything. Today it's easy. There's the digital account book, what accountants call the cash blotter. It's simple to trace the history of all these transactions, so a very safe way of keeping track on every transaction that's made. And the third point is, the funds are immediately available. You can pay someone, and if it's on the Duel platform, it's instantaneous. If it's through a bank account or another means of payment, it takes a little longer, but overall, it saves time in managing these financial transactions.
People in Africa are used to cash. Do you think it will be easy for them to give that up and go digital? How can you persuade them to use new techniques?
We are used to cash because it's a very satisfying means of paying. There's the pleasure of knowing we've made a payment and that it's been carried out all at once. Technology tries to provide the same type of experience and to provide what cash cannot do, since cash has its limitations. One is that if you want to pay cash, you need to have that cash on you, and there could be problems about getting hold of the right change. We've all experienced that. Or I can pay the neighbor, say, and then forget about the other different payments I've made. Technology, I would say, brings user comfort when used intensively. And for merchants, payments are literally user-intensive. You buy and sell 1, 2, 100 customers. They buy, they pay you. Then you buy new merchandise. So capital must circulate. Goods must circulate. Making all the connections can become a headache. Whether done at the end of the day or at the end of the week, there's a whole book of accounting to reconcile, and this is where Duel fully justifies its existence. It brings a new experience to the customer, to our customers. Because all the time-consuming tasks, which cost money, the hidden costs, we make them disappear. We make them simpler.
Is that how you persuade customers to use these new techniques?
Our customers, in fact, are mainly those who have the most problems with these peripheral tasks.
Vis-à-vis de ces tâches-là, périphériques. Après, il y a
Then also, if you have an electronic means of payment, and if your partner also has an electronic means of payment, you get part of the old experience of paying in cash, because the payments are instantaneous. It's a bit like what individuals find using mobile money, but we are also bringing companies instant payments, large-scale payments with all the necessary security, and it's immediate.
Et également instantané. Donc, il y a une expérience complètement nouvelle.
So what we provide is a totally new experience that comes as close as possible to using cash, but with flexibility, security, and the means to track transactions. That's how we convince our customers.
Retrouver son historique que nous amenons. C'est comme ça qu'on convainc nos clients.
Welcome back to the second part of our show. We are still at Viva Tech in Paris, the largest European tech event. For our next report, we head for Ghana, where many new entrepreneurs lack the skills to run a business and operate in a competitive environment. As in many developing countries, the deficit is clearly identified, and it is the lack of specialized skills, access to capital and technology. To remedy this, the government of Ghana relies on startup incubators, and they are popular with entrepreneurs. Our journalists George Ibu Saki and John Awotwi visited one of them, the Ghana Innovation Hub. Let's take a look.
With the establishment of the new support services firm, the Ghana Innovation Hub, Ghana's authorities are helping entrepreneurs like Folasade Rufai of Dawa Foods make their businesses more competitive, not just in the local market, but internationally too.
At the time when I applied for the program, I did not have any properly structured financial management in place for my business. And as I speak now, I have been assisted through the program to have a better bookkeeping and financial management structure for my business. I've also been able to meet friends here who have introduced me to people who can stock my products.
The Ghana Innovation Hub was established by Ghana's Ministry of Communication with funding from the World Bank. Since its creation in 2019, the centre has engaged with over 2,000 youth groups with entrepreneurship training programs. As a result, about 90 new companies are being trained or are at various stages of development.
We have three main partners in the implementation. So I myself work for MDF West Africa, but we also partner with GCTU and Blue Space Africa. So it's a consortium of three organizations that's managing this space and also running the programs here.
The companies enjoying GIH's support vary from agro-processing, packaging, to technology-based industries and firms offering innovative solutions. The centre provides workspaces for businesses, conference rooms for training, and workshops and meeting rooms for planning, networking and engagement. The hub also has space to showcase the products of trainees for marketing and promotional purposes.
Here in the Ghana Innovation Hub, we have a shelf where we showcase the products of our entrepreneurs. So all these products you see here are samples of what they do, and in a way of helping them, we advertise it for them. When someone walks in, they can get their contacts from here, then call them to make their purchases.
Centres like the Ghana Innovation Hub are essential to reducing youth unemployment in Ghana by teaching young entrepreneurs and innovators to navigate the business world through skills development and resource assistance. The Innovation Hub is helping youth to economically support themselves through entrepreneurship and business development while reducing the pressure on the government to provide public sector jobs for its youth.
Two companies that were in that first cohort, one is processing egg into dried egg powder, which is used for pharmaceuticals. And they've now grown to a stage where they're also doing other products and other poultry products. And they are now in the Orange Corners Acceleration Program. So they have grown their business to a level that they need support in formalizing their financing, their financial management, but also their sales and distribution. So that is one example. Another example is Tropical Growers, who is also, it was in that same cohort of Innovate GH. They are doing lettuce and herbs with aquaponics. So hydroponics, it's a water-based growing system. You don't need soil.
With the appropriate level of investment and resources from the government and other development partners, the centre has the potential to give many more young entrepreneurs the needed assistance to bring their innovative ideas and visions to contribute towards Ghana's industrialization drive.
Let's get back to Serge Boubda, the creator of the fintech Duel. He reveals how he manages to persuade investors and talks about his future plans for his startup. Let's hear it.
In February 2021, your fintech startup became one of the best funded in French-speaking Africa. You succeeded in raising nearly 3.5 million euros. How did you persuade investors?
I would say persuading investors is both a simple and complicated issue. Simple because at the end of the day there is the credibility of the team. I think that in any new project you have a project that needs the credibility of the team and its ability to be able to execute the plan it announces. Fintech is an industry and an activity that is both highly regulated and highly complex in terms of the technical aspects that must be put in place. To do something whose usefulness is immediate and easy to understand. Therefore, this requires having a team that ultimately has experience in this type of activity.
Finalement a une expérience dans la construction de ce type d'activité. Aujourd'hui, notre équipe est très diverse.
Today, our team is very diverse from different backgrounds. A lot of technology, of course, and banking. At the end of the day, banking is a lot of technology, but also a lot of experience when it comes to regulations and the mechanisms that constitute financial activity.
L'activité financière.
And it is this credibility that allows investors to imagine what tomorrow will be like, how the dream we are selling, how the new perspective we are selling can come true.
The
second point, of course, is an action plan. What are the key stages we design, and can we achieve these key stages within a certain time? And that, briefly, is how we talk with our investors, and how we continue to do so.
Beyond Cameroon, what are your other business destinations on the continent?
We see a particular opportunity in the countries of French-speaking Africa. First, because we are francophone, but secondly, because French-speaking Africa is, I would say, a bit behind in terms of the ecosystem compared to English-speaking Africa. The people are the same, and the technology makes it possible to access these people in much the same way. So we see ourselves as pioneers in those markets. Right now we're in Central Africa, in Cameroon. Tomorrow, literally very soon, we will be in West Africa, Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire, and we will continue to expand in the first place into French-speaking African countries. Fintech is an activity that is capital intensive. It requires raising funds, finding customers, not to educate, but to convince them, as we were discussing earlier. And of course we process, we make payments. So we must have the capital to inspire confidence. These are the main points which I think describe our expansion.
What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs who want to get on board the fintech adventure? What have you learned that is key to being successful?
Personally, what I would give as advice is to go for it. Always try. Then I'm always a little more risk-prone as an entrepreneur than someone who isn't. I see opportunities in risk. So I would tell every entrepreneur, you must try. Of course, this is, after all, where we have our added value. The second tip that I think is important is to be creative. Try to create value. We have customers we want to serve. We have new solutions to offer. The problems are already there, and the customers want substance. They want something that changes their daily lives. They want something that solves a particular problem. So you must be creative to be able to work the problem and solve it. And once we've identified the problem, we must work relentlessly to overcome it.
Il faut exécuter sans relâche.
The third piece of advice I would say is really to have a lot of humility. Again, because the customer is king. Customers tell you what they want every day, and you must listen to them. We must provide them with added value. We must solve their problems. I think these 3 points are the key values that an entrepreneur should have. Anyway, that's what drives me.
Serge Boubda, thank you very much.
Merci.
And that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. You can, of course, find Serge Boubda's interview and the replay of our programs on our website, africaonair.com. And, of course, you can also find us on all our social media channels. Feel free to share, like, and comment with the hashtag Initiative Africa. And do not forget, next week, same time, same channel, I will see you again with a new edition of Business Africa for a detailed report of this 2022 edition of Vivatech. Have a great week, everyone, and goodbye.